What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Space Arena Ground Arena. BananaCrapshoot here, and today we're going to look at some Twilight of the Republic decks that you can upgrade with Jump to Lightspeed and win with early in the meta. So we got some popular decks from the Set 3 meta that you can infuse with some new cards. As of this recording, not all the cards have been released. So if there's cards that you think should be in here, maybe they weren't released yet or I overlooked it. So I did get some lists from some of my teammates. So the first one we'll look at is Sabine with set 4 by my friend Tony or Handlebar. So it's this pretty standard Sabine stuff, and then you can see some of the new cards Trench Run to give you even more reach. The Luke Skywalker pilot seems really solid, buffs your space units, and then when that unit's defeated, he becomes a unit, so you keep him. The Y-Wing, making you have the option to give your opponent indirect damage that they have to deal with, and then it's also a good thing to pilot. And everything can be hit with Heroic Sacrifice and Rebel Assault here, so lots of big buffs. Blue Leader is another good one, 3/3 in space with Ambush, and then for 5 resources you can play it and it gets put in the ground arena. The Sabine's Masterpiece is pretty interesting because it does add the effects off Sabine, which I don't remember off the top of my head at the moment. But when you have your different aspects in the on attack, and it is ECL, so you could ECL the Sabine's Masterpiece in to get the effects right away. And then the Chewie Leader, or not Leader, but the Chewie Pilot makes a bunch of sense as another buff, and then it's also harder to remove, and then we still have the top end of Wrecker and Poe. But yeah, the Sabine Masterpiece on attack, if you have a command unit, you can give an experience token to a unit, and if you have an aggression unit, you can deal 1 damage to a unit or base. So in this deck with red-green and ECL, you're able to push damage to base and buff your units, which is all stuff that Sabine likes to do. So this looks like a really good starting point from Handlebar to start with Sabine, keeping the core of the deck and the big ECL targets to end the game, while infusing some new cards and some more reach. Next up, we have a set 4 Quinlan Tarkentown by, this is Sam. He won 2 PQs with a Quinlan, so I think he was very well versed in some stuff that would make this deck better. So the new additions, the Red Squadron Y-Wing, everybody likes the dealing indirect damage, which makes sense with Tarkentown. It's another way that your opponent picks where the damage goes, but if they do damage a unit, you can Tarkentown them. Bamboozle mainboard makes a ton of sense. It's a 0 cost card. If you use its effect, that says goodbye to a leader, which is insane. The red 5 makes sense. On attack and deal 2 damage to damaged unit. Pretty sure that's a damaged unit, right? The new Ahsoka makes huge sense here. It's a force unit, and Quinlan is a force throw deck, and then when played, your opponent discards a card from their hand, and if it is a unit, then they have to exhaust a card. So if Ahsoka discards a unit, then you get to exhaust a unit. So that makes a ton of sense. It's more discard for this deck that already has a lot of discard between Spark of Rebellion, Force Throw. It has the old Kira unit that, makes stuff cost more. We have access to Pillage still, and now you're adding another Force unit that messes with your opponent's hand. So this just leans right into what Quinlan does really well already. A new Han unit to go with the Falcon is a good upgrade, and then we're keeping the Plo and the 1 6-drop Falcon. So he dropped the 7-drop Han. We'll see if that is the correct move, but at least early in what I expect to be a space-heavy meta, dropping the Han unit is probably okay. And then you see he's got Planetary Bombardment in the sideboard, which I think is going to be an awesome card. So this looks like a really good starting point from Sam, who is like the best Quinlan pilot on the planet, probably. It's probably a good starting point for you to go with him. Next up, we have a set 4 Jango Tarkinntown by Crisis or John. He pilots this deck very well. We can see he's added Stay on Target, which is another buff, and I think that damages when you damage a base, it draws a card. So it buffs Space Unit, which Jango's already one of the better space decks, and then he gives you card draw, which sometimes Jango, because he does run kind of a lower to the ground deck, he can run out of cards sometimes and get in a top deck mode, which is the best way to beat him. So having a card that can potentially draw you cards is really strong. And then he's added the IG 2000, which when played deals like damage to 2 or 3 units. So that makes complete sense. That's a time walk with Jango. And then the War Juggernaut, I think it's called. Yeah, the War Juggernaut is a 3/7. It gets +1 for each damaged unit, and when played, you can deal damage to any number of units. So if Jango is deployed, this is a complete time walk. So between the War Juggernaut and the IG 2000 that can damage 3 units, if Jango's deployed, like, he's gonna completely time walk people on their turns. And then in the sideboard, you can see he's added the new Devastator and Planetary Bombardment. Yeah, this looks like a really good starting point. IG and the War Juggernaut make complete sense. I don't know that you still run the Persuader tank if you're running the Juggernaut, but I guess hitting it off TDR is probably better, because it does swing for 6 instead of 3, but the ability for the War Juggernaut to completely time walk your opponent is pretty insane. So that's another one to watch out for. I think that's the last of the teammate decks, and the next 2 are mine. This is where I'm starting with set 4, Cad Tarkin Town. The new additions are the 2-drop space unit that when defeated deals indirect damage. It's an underworld unit. The Death Space Skirmisher, when played, if you control another space unit, you can exhaust the unit. That one I'm not too crazy about at the moment. That one will probably bounce, but I'm doing a 2-2 split currently of that, Mist Hunter, and Punishing One. A lot of unique units and unique cards, so I was trying to fit in some non-unique stuff, so that's why that Space Skirmisher's in there, but I think that probably will come out and it'll just be a 3-3 split in Mist Hunter and Punishing One, or it could be the Black Sun Starfighter, I guess, but the Mist Hunter and the Punishing One both are really good, and Punishing One's even better now with pilots. I'm running 2 of the no disintegrations currently because that works really well with Tarkin Town, and the indirect damage and the ping damage from Cad, it just works well together. Relentless Pursuit, I was a fan of, I think more than most people running Cad Bane, and I think it's even better this set because you can capture those space units that people are putting pilots on and say goodbye to the pilots. Keeping the 4-Alarm Zuckuss package and then adding Dengar. Dengar is for sure a 3 of. He's awesome. He deals 2 indirect unit on attack when he's a pilot. And if the unit he's on is an underworld unit, which it's going to be in this deck, then it deals 3 indirect instead. So he gives +1/+2 as a pilot, and then he's dealing 3 indirect here. And then I'm currently at a 2-2 split of Boba and IG-88, and currently I don't know which one I like better or worse. I haven't been a huge fan of the boss pilot to this point in this deck. Boba Fett's pretty solid because he deals damage when he comes out as a pilot, and then if you have to play him on the ground, he's a decent body with a shield. And then IG-88 should be really good in this deck because with the ping damage, we should be able to spread damage around. But if you're controlling the board and like they don't have a unit that has damage on, he kind of sucks. He doesn't really do anything for you. So they're at a 2-2 split. I'm not sure where that'll go. It definitely takes, the set's not even out yet, so it's going to take more games. But in the early games, I think I've liked Boba Fett better. IG-88's been good a couple times, but Dengar for sure is a 3 up as a pilot here. And then the top end's basically the same as it was. But yeah, this has been fun so far. The Mist Hunter, Dengar, the new stuff's been fun. So this is going to be a good deck in this set, I'm pretty sure. And the next, so Han's going to be good again. Mono for sure. Got some new toys, but I prefer Command. So this is where I'm at currently with Command Han. The new stuff I've added to Salvage in the main board, so you can play a vehicle from your discard. And when you do, you can deal damage to it. So we can recycle Blue Leaders, the Falcons, the Bright Hopes, Home Ones, Marauders. We can get these cards back. Running Bamboozle main board now as a way for pilot hate. Adding blue leader, we can get to 5 resources pretty quick, and it's also just a good space unit. But keeping Tech DJ package in here. Added 2 of the new Falcon. I do like new Falcon, especially if you can get the new Chewie pilot and the new Han pilot on it. It's really solid. Can hit for like 11 pretty easily, but old Falcon's still best Falcon in my opinion, just because it comes in ready right away. Turn 1 Falcon is a really good Han play, especially I think in the jump to light speed meta, being able to get that out turn 1 against these pilot decks and just kill whatever their turn 1 plays is strong. So 3 old Falcon, 2 new Falcon, and then running 3 of the Chewie pilot, 2 a Han pilot, and then other than that, deck's pretty much how I've had it. And then that there's the space unit. It's like a 1 or 2 cost that exhausts a vehicle or something and does a damage to it. I don't even remember what it does anymore. That's been okay. That one's in the sideboard. Electromagnetic pulse, deal 2 damage to a droid or vehicle unit and exhaust it. So it's a way to ice some stuff in space cheap. And there are a lot of like cheap space units that have 2 health. So it could potentially wipe a unit. But it's just a way to side in to deal with some space heavy decks. I could see maybe the 4-drop Ahsoka coming in here as a sideboard option as a way when you're playing into control. Like the sideboard is basically the control package. So the Tranquility, the Kira, the Sparks, Fennec. I even like to put in against control because she can like one-shot Snokes and stuff. So maybe having Ahsoka will maybe be a better play instead of Electromagnetic Pulse, but we'll see. But this has been a lot of fun so far. I also forgot new Luke's in here, so we can get double duty out of him, but we can ramp and get to our big stuff faster than everybody else. Everybody already knows that. And now our space units are harder to remove and they hit harder. I think Bright Hopes are pretty much mandatory coming into this next set to slow down some of these space aggro decks like Poe and Luke. I think you're going to see. But yeah, these are the decks from Twilight that I think you can go and win with early in Jump to Light Speed. Just make a couple tweaks, add some cards, and go make those good decks even better, or adapt them to a new meta and go win some games. So short and sweet, just some decks to go win with early. That'll be it for this one. The next one should be some new decks, some Jump to Light Speed decks you can win with early. That'll be coming later this week. That's it for this one. We'll see you in the arenas.